Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, it is trade season here in the NBA, which means all the rumors are going to be going crazy like they have been. I think we're just under a month now from the
Yeah.
deadline. So things are really going to be starting picking up. I'm here with my man Troy. We're going to go through each team. We're going to start here in the Eastern Conference, kind of break down what we think the direction these teams should go, if they should be buyers, if they should be sellers. It's going to be based off a lot of things, roster, what their record is, if we still think they have a chance and whatnot. But I mean, Troy, without further ado, you ready to get right under it?
Let's rock and roll, baby.
Let's start off with this first team here that I think is very interesting is the Detroit Pistons. They're the worst team in the East. I don't think like skill wise they are, but record wise they definitely are.
Yeah.
But if you look at their roster, there's a lot of interesting things you can go. But what do you think this Pistons team should do?
Yeah, so I have them in like sell category. I just think it makes too much sense. They have some names too that are pretty interesting, like a guy like Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks, Bojan Bogdanovic, and then I have like a maybe sell. And you're hearing rumors about Sadiq Bey.
Yeah.
For those of you that keep up with the rumor mill, Corey Joseph is another interesting guy. He's been on some good teams. And another maybe weirdo is Hamidou Diallo.
Yeah.
He's on an expiring deal. Maybe you can get a team to throw you a bone, couple seconds or whatever it may be for Hami. But those are just a few names I think they should sell. Give all their young guys. I don't think they should sell Sadiq Bey personally. I think he's a cheap guy and he's got 1 year left before he hits restricted free agency. I just don't see the direction if you get rid of a guy like him. But
Yeah, I think I'm also towards selling. I just don't think it. I mean, there's no reason it will be, but as long as it's not like insane, like you could get
mhm.
something valuable back for Bogdanovich, obviously. They're apparently listening. Alec Burks, who coming off their bench has been really, really good this year.
Oh yeah,
I do think like there's several teams that could use a guy like him to come off their bench in a playoff game. Like that's a guy that like could win you a playoff game just by coming
oh
off the
yeah,
bench and scoring 20, 25 points. Nerlens Noel is another interesting one. Because he's only 28, but he feels like he's been in the league forever. Just a
yeah.
valuable big.
Noel and Burks too also have that next year of a team option.
Yeah.
So like that team control for our club could get them to maybe sprinkle in. I'm not saying these guys are worth first round picks. I don't think you are either. Maybe Alec Burks, a protected one, really heavily protected. But with that team option next year, it makes those two options really, really interesting.
Yeah. Hamidou Diallo, like you said, is also on a team option next year.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Joseph's on a player option, but I mean, he's such a solid guard. I think there's multiple teams that could talk themselves.
He's
And
not super expensive either, is he?
5 million.
Yeah, that's not super expensive either.
Yeah. Sadiq Bey, I don't know if I'm willing to give up, like you said, just yet, just because I don't know if like what you get in return is going to help you longer than Sadiq Bey getting better, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so we'll move on here as we both agree that the Pistons should be sellers. Just don't blow it up entirely just yet. But we'll move on to the next worst team in the Eastern Conference, and that is the Charlotte Hornets. This one I feel like is pretty obvious to me. I think, in my opinion, they should be sellers. Um, LaMelo Ball is about the only positive outcome on your roster that's like set in stone. You have like some guys that, Nick Richards has been playing well up to this point. Mark Williams, I think there could be something in the league for him.
Oh
But like
yeah.
and PJ Washington, I really like as well. But other than that, like Gordon Hayward, you have Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Mason Plumlee, Cody Martin, who I think you could probably get like a second round pick in return for. So for me, it comes down to there's multiple guys on this team that don't help the direction of this franchise with LaMelo Ball as the centerpiece because LaMelo is going to be for the foreseeable future. And around him, you've got Gordon Hayward, who's 32, Terry Rozier, 28, Kelly Oubre is 27, Mason Plumlee's 32. So for me, I just think this team should sell. I think you could get some nice, potentially young, like a one or two solid young pieces for those guys I mentioned, and some picks in return. So I personally have these guys as sellers. Where are you at?
Yeah, I too have them as sellers. I think that they should be the hottest selling team. I think they should literally do whatever they have to do. I think that they're going to have to pair, like you already said, PJ Washington, who may be a part of their future. I think they're going to have to pair him with a guy like Terry Rozier or
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward to get somebody to take those contracts. But just like the names you just mentioned with their ages, like they are blocking minutes from dudes like, Theo Maladon, who they picked up from the Thunder, Bryce McGowan's, who they have in the G League. I was super high on coming out of the draft process. And, even if they bring back Miles Bridges, which is being reported that they are discussing, I don't think that happens till next season. So get as many assets as you can right now. Recoup what you've already lost in your future when it comes to, locking in Terry Rozier for that contract, Gordon Hayward, and try your best to just revamp around LaMelo to give him a reason to sign long term.
Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier are making, Gordon Hayward's making $30 million this year and $31 million next year. Terry Rozier's making 21 right now, and it goes up to 26 in like 4 years. So I think that'd be a little more difficult, and that's where a guy like PJ Washington comes into
James
play.
Bouknight, maybe he's had
Something
some
like
issues.
But,
yeah,
I mean, Kelly Oubre is only making 12. I know he's injured. Is he out for the year?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I mean, he's only making 12 million, and Mason Plumlee's only making 9. So those are two guys that
out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Kelly
so
Oubre.
those are guys that
right
are
around trade deadline.
Yeah, so it'd be easy to get rid of those guys. And Cody Martin, like I said, only making $7 million right now. So yeah, we both agree yet again that the Charlotte Hornets should be sellers. I think it's just the best bet. This is an interesting team for me, Troy, and it's the Orlando Magic. I'm going to toss this right over to you because I'm not convinced either way. I'll be honest. But what's in your mind? Where are you at?
So I put this out on a spreadsheet. I broke them down into the categories: buy, sell, hold, and then like a not sure, maybe stuck. It's too fun to see them lose, or a little bit of both. And this team, I was really I just have them as holding. I think that 15 and 26, give this team, if Jonathan Isaac comes back, you know what? Throw your guys out there. See what you have in this bunch. And if you make a little run at the play-in game, I don't think anybody's going to be upset about that. And to be honest, if I'm in a play-in setting, I don't want to play the Magic. They got a dude that can get hot. They're long. They're freakishly long. They're just a matchup nightmare. I think they're a lot of fun. I think this Orlando, city's getting behind them a little bit. So I would tell them to hold. Maybe sell a few guys, maybe Terrence Ross, Gary Harris. But in terms of if everybody's selling the farm, let's hold off for a little bit.
I'm right there with you. If you are selling anything, it's Terrence Ross, who's on an expiring $11.5 million. Gary Harris has 2 years left, but $13 million both years. Their highest paid guy is Jonathan Isaac at $17 million. And, granted, that's pretty bad because he hasn't played in 3.5 years. Yeah, but nonetheless, I mean, you have multiple guys. Mo Bamba maybe too, but are you willing to give up? It seems like he's been in rumors for a while now. Yeah, I said this on the Daily Show yesterday. I think the Magic are a good point guard away from being a sleeper team in the East. Now, I'm not saying if they get a point guard, don't blow things up and get a nice point guard now. And, I'm not saying they'd make that big run, but I'm saying if they got one in the offseason, yeah, I like this Orlando Magic team. I'll be honest. So I
they remind me a lot of maybe a Thunder, maybe not as good yet, but that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would argue that 1 through 15, they're better than the Thunder. Maybe.
Ooh,
it's out there.
Spicy now.
But nonetheless, I really love this Orlando Magic team for whatever reason. I don't think don't blow things up yet. If you're gonna sell Terrence Ross, Gary Harris, maybe Mo Bamba. But let's wait till the offseason and see if there's a nice player available that makes sense with your roster. So we're somewhat sellers, I would say. But nonetheless, I think we're
looking at their roster too, Jonathan Isaac, if he comes back and he lays a dud, he's not looking good, the next 2 years of his contract are non-guaranteed. So they could cut that off their books and get back $17.5 million for their cap space. So that's another.
If he looks good too, I think you could convince some teams to take him because defensively, he's a solid guy.
Freak.
Yeah,
he's a freak.
So
he fits the Magic freakazoids. He is literally if you think about, holy cow, this team has 6'7" across the board. Oh, here's another 6'11", 7'5" wingspan freak for you to use now. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love this Orlando Magic team. I'm a closet Orlando Magic fan. But we'll move on here. Washington Wizards are up next, Troy. Where are you going?
I have them at the weird spot. I'm not sure. And it's because, they've locked up Bradley Beal. He has a no trade clause. He has 4 years left. Porzingis is expiring, but he has that player option for
Yeah.
$36 million. So it's kind of like, you got guys like Kyle Kuzma, Will Barton that are interesting. Monte Morris that you could trade, Rui Hachimura. But then it's like, how did you get Bradley Beal to sign that extension? There had to be some sort of agreement where you guys would at least try. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't know. They're like one of those teams that it's so weird to try to put your finger on what in the world they are going to do, that I just put them in the I have no idea category. And so I'm interested to see what you have to say and what you bring to the table with this, because I'm lost.
It blows my mind that they think they can still compete. Like, I've listened to podcasts, read reports where they still think they can build a team around Bradley Beal. When it comes down to it, without getting too much off topic, I just don't know if Bradley Beal is that good.
Yeah. He's getting older. He's getting hurt a lot.
Yeah. You've got Will Barton on and expiring. Kyle Kuzma has a player option, but he's pretty much guaranteed he's not coming back. So you need to get rid of Kyle Kuzma before he walks away for nothing. And the market, I think, is hot for Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, yeah.
And they've apparently been rumored to be willing to give up Rui Hachimura, which is kind of mind-blowing because it's like you don't have many young, solid pieces come through Washington often. I mean, granted, Rui Hachimura is not like an eye-opener, but he's a good NBA player. And so, I don't know. DeLon Wright, I think I like DeLon Wright, and I think some teams could use a guy like him off their bench. Like the Hawks, who he just left. I think the Hawks would love to have him back. So I'm kind of there with you where it's like I'm not sure, but I would just be like, screw it, let's blow it up. I mean, let's find somewhere that Bradley Beal will agree to go, and let's make it work, and let's just start completely over. Because
and
just have no
and
future.
It's one of those rare situations too, though, where the star has all to say. Like, people get so frustrated when it comes to stars and where they want to go. But like Bradley Beal, when he agreed to that no trade clause, it was either, okay, I'm competing with y'all, or I'm making sure I get to pick where I'm going. So it's strange because then the Wizards have to bend their back for him. And then they're in a pickle where they're like, what if we can't? Like, for instance, the Lakers. Like, if he's like, I want to be in Los Angeles, and they're like, okay, then you're kind of handcuffing yourself to what do you get? So they're just really, really stuck.
It's just there's no future. There's no future.
Yeah.
I hate the Wizards. We'll move on.
They're the new Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
Where I was just getting so frustrated with them.
A team that's really struggling this year is the Toronto Raptors. You look at their roster, it doesn't make sense as to why they're struggling so bad. So I feel like you could convince yourself to go one of two, either way here. But for me personally, I lean towards sell. I'll be honest. Fred VanVleet, he's got a player option for next year. He's making $21 million, which didn't he just say he's not gonna take the player option because he thinks he can make more?
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way he takes that player option. No way. He's balling, eh? He's playing really good ball.
He's had a rough year. He shows some stats at playing good, but overall, anyways,
There will be a team that gives him a Terry Rozier contract.
Yes, I agree. There will be a team that will give him more, like the Orlando Magic. Anyways, Gary Trent, they've said Gary Trent Jr. is available. I think a lot of teams could use a shooter like that. He is making $17 million this year, and then $18 million player option next year. Pascal Siakam is making $35 million this year, $37 next year. So you've got guys that are making a lot of money at the top of their roster. And OG Anunoby, another guy making 17 this year, goes into 18, and then a player option into 24, 25, worth $19 million. But those four guys, especially OG Anunoby, as it's known, everybody apparently wants OG Anunoby. Gary Trent Jr., they've said they're willing to give up on him. And I think a lot of people could use a guy like Gary Trent Jr. Fred VanVleet, what's he going to do for you guys at this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I definitely lean towards sell. They even have guys towards the bottom of the roster, like Otto Porter Jr. is making $6 million this year. That's an easy contract to move. Thaddeus Young, he's 34, making $8 million, but that's like a veteran guy that even if he doesn't play for you in the playoffs, you want that veteran presence around come playoff time. So I'm definitely leaning full-fledged into sell, but I feel like there's multiple people that say, why in the world would you do that? But where are you at?
Yeah, same. I'm not even gonna. right in there with you. Two names you just didn't mention that I think they could maybe get something is Kim Birch and Chris Boucher.
Mhm.
I think those are two names that maybe you can get something. But yeah, I'm all in with you 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, it's tough because I think you should build around, like, they kind of just fit Scotty Barnes into that system, because don't get me wrong, they won a championship several years ago, so that makes sense. But now I think it's time to build the system around Scotty Barnes instead of throwing him into the system.
Yeah, you don't want to make him mad either.
Yeah.
And especially because he's supposed to be your next guy. Like, there's no reason to ruin a potential, happy marriage with your young gun.
Another team that's struggling this year is the Chicago Bulls. They've got two guys making $27 million this year in DeMar DeRozan and $37 this year in Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's on a huge contract all the way through 2025, 2026, and has a player option for 26, 27. DeMar DeRozan has 2 years left. Nikola Vucevic is on an expiring. I don't know. What do you do if you're the Chicago Bulls?
I would personally sell. I think it's one of those situations where, not like the Wizards, but kind of where your future is kind of in question right now. You don't really have a guy. Zach LaVine's cool, but he's not a guy like that you can build around. DeMar DeRozan,
he's like a really good third option, like a decent second option.
Yeah, like if your second guy gets hurt, you feel good about having Zach LaVine as your third, but like you don't want to depend on him as your number two. Alex Caruso is the guy that I think, oddly enough, they could probably get the most for. Like, when it comes to pairing him with like a guy like DeMar or Vucevic, like they could probably get a nice package for that. Ayo Dosunmu is another guy I think could, if they don't want to keep him, he's an expiring, into restricted free agency. I'm sure he's going to want 10 to 12, 15 million a year. He's playing good ball for them. Lonzo Ball, maybe you can get somebody to take a flyer on him. I don't know, man. The Bulls are in a weird spot. Not similar to the Wizards, but kind of similar. And DeMar DeRozan, send him off. Let him maybe get you 2 firsts if you're lucky. But
it's just interesting because I don't know what you get back for Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. And those are your best guys.
I think if you're like, okay, we're locked into Zach LaVine. I made a TikTok the other day, and I had a DeMar DeRozan video, and I had the trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you maybe try to pry Cat away from the T-Wolves, and you do some sort of swap with DeRozan. You let them kind of try to make sure their Rudy Gobert thing looks okay with Anthony, DeMar, D-Russ. They try to fix that. And then with the Bulls, you have your big now with Cat. You never know what you can get for Vucevic, for those other guys. And then Zach LaVine and Cat are really good friends. So maybe you try to rehash the Zach LaVine, just relationship with a guy like Cat, who maybe can be a 1. You never know. And see what you have with that. But I don't know. They're one of those I don't know teams.
Andre Drummond, if anybody would be interested in him, he's only making $3 million a year. Derek Jones Jr.
I love that guy.
He puts up numbers. I'll say that. Javonte Green's he's only making him like $1.5 million. Goran Dragic only they've got multiple. Tony Bradley. I mean, multiple guys, and I think you could convince me that the Bulls could trade Alex Caruso to the Warriors and get back one of the Warriors' really good young players, either Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, or James Wiseman. I think
I've never thought about that.
I don't see why you don't. If you're gonna blow up, send Alex Caruso over to Golden State because they won. I think they would love that.
I'd be like, James Wiseman for Alex Caruso in a 2nd-round pick. I'll do it right now. Yeah, I'll do it right. If I was the Bulls, I'd be like, hey, James Wiseman, I want him. You can have 2 2nd-round picks and Alex Caruso. Steve Kerr said he wanted him. Here, you want him? Prove it. Even if they were countered with Moses Moody, I'd be like, deal.
Yeah, 2 2nd-round picks and Moses Moody.
Yeah, give me that deal.
Now we move on to an interesting team. My opinion.
We should just be the Bulls GM.
I don't see why not.
It's so easy.
Now we move on to an interesting team here in the Atlanta Hawks. They're not going to sell. Obviously, they're not going to sell because you have Trae Young and you have DeJounte Murray, who just brought in. But they could still somewhat sell. I think John Collins has been in rumors for the last 3 years. Apparently, the Nets are very interested in Collins. I'm not convinced they wouldn't be willing to give up on Clint Capella either.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna say buyers, because I think if you trade John Collins, I don't think that automatically puts you in like the sell category. But if you like trade John Collins and bring back a couple solid pieces, you try to move on from the Holiday brothers and bring in a couple better pieces, I think you're buying for a deep playoff run, which they really want, and I don't know if they're going to get it or not. But nonetheless, I think trying to just upgrade a couple pieces here and there for this roster that ultimately they want to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, so I love the Hawks. I've been a huge Hawk guy for a while. I wasn't in on them this year, but what they can do is they can make some moves to make it really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've already said. I don't know if you get rid of a guy like Clint Capella, but I even have him on my who to maybe sell, and it's Clint Capella with a question mark. But he's on such an easy contract. It would be easy to move, but also he's only 28 somehow. So, I mean, that's interesting. But people, I think that they need some depth, and I think the key for them is they've hit on some good draft picks with, Onyeka Okongwu's fine, Jalen Johnson looks solid, AJ Griffin looks great. So you need some depth, guys. Maybe we've already talked about Will Barton, Kyle Kuzma. I think a guy that they should swing for the fences on if they get rid of John Collins is Miles Turner. I think he'd be perfect for their little situation there with their young guys. I think he plays, off the ball really well. He's a defensive-minded big. Alex Caruso, who we just talked about, Eric Gordon, like Lonnie Walker from the Lakers. Like, I think that these are all pieces that if you get off of John Collins and Clint Capella, that maybe you can start moving some guys and try to bring in that depth and not have to give up a plethora of picks because you're getting some and then moving off. So I don't know. They're going to have to do some gymnastics because the roster right now isn't getting it done. They have so much money guaranteed to almost their entire roster outside of DeJounte Murray, who they're going to have to pay really, really soon. So I don't know, man.
Pascal Siakam for John Collins.
It's a really interesting one.
Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it than just those two.
Yeah.
But I don't see why both teams wouldn't, be willing to work that out.
Would Trey be happy? Because it seems like now he's into throwing pity parties for himself. Like, that takes the ball way out of his hands because Pascal loves the ISO.
At this point, though, I'm more worried about winning than I am keeping Trae Young happy, because if he's going to keep finding something, So we're gonna, not to get too off topic there. I don't like Trae. I don't like Trae Young. The Miami Heat, Troy. I cannot fully make up my mind here. You've got Tyler Hero, who's making $5 million this year, but then immediately goes into 27 next year and just goes up and up every year.
Can I cut you off real quick? I want to ask you a question about the Miami Heat, because whenever I look at their roster, I want to ask you: could they even sell? Like, who do they have? If you were a GM, outside of Bam, you look at their roster, who would you want? That you are jumping head over heels for.
If I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, and if I really want to try my best to make things work this year, I'm calling the Miami Heat and saying, because the Heat have been willing to give up Kyle Lowry, apparently. Will you take D'Angelo Russell for Kyle Lowry, and you bring in that veteran point guard who can control things and will get the ball in Anthony Edwards' hands and figure out how to work Cat and
doesn't force anything?
I'd make that call. That's just
even though he's 36.
Well, and for the Heat, D'Angelo Russell's on an expiring, and so we need that cap space. We need that cap space for Tyler Hero. I would be willing to. Like, is anybody going to take Duncan Robinson in his big contract? No. Is anybody going to take Victor Oladipo? I mean, he's on a cheap deal, but he always is hurt. It's just
he's starting to play better, but he's 30 now. Like, you blink and this guy's 30. He had so much upside. Now he's 30. So, and Duncan Robinson's 28 and could get paid till he's 33, 32.
Yeah.
Like on a $20 million contract.
So I want to say buyers, but it just doesn't seem like they have the tools to be buyers.
I have them in the hold category, because what benefit do you get for selling or for buying? Because you don't have anything that anybody wants to buy to sell, and you don't have anybody to trade to buy. So it's because nobody's going to, even though Jimmy Butler's cool, like he's 33 and is guaranteed till he's 37. So he ain't LeBron, and he's going to be making $52 million in 2025.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, what are we doing, Pat Riley?
You need to clear some cap space though before Tyler Hero's big pay starts getting involved. So I would get rid of Kyle Lowry if I can. I don't see why the
Bam and
Timberwolves.
him are only getting older.
Yeah, I don't see why the
It's
Timberwolves
weird.
wouldn't do it. Honestly, though, Kyle Lowry, bring him in for 2 years.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's just me personally, but
I like
so
a
it
lot.
seems like there's like no real answer for the Heat because how do you make anything work with the contract
What
you
do
have
you do?
and the
Yeah,
pay
what
and
do
the
you even
players
do?
you have? Yeah, we'll move on here. The New York Knicks are an interesting team. They've been rumored to be willing to give up on Emmanuel Quickly, Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, even apparently Obi Toppin. So does that ultimately make them a buyer? What are you going to get back for those guys that helps you in the long run? Where are you?
Yeah, kind of same question I just asked you about the Heat. Like, who do they have to buy? That a team would be like, let's go. Like, can't wait to get him. You know, like maybe you can finagle a team to take on Evan Fournier if you give up IQ, or it doesn't look like they're going to give up Quentin Grimes. Maybe an Obi Toppin. Like maybe a team is like, okay,
They're
maybe
not giving
Obi-
up Quentin Grimes. They love that guy.
Yeah, they so like, and that's a guy that I'd be like, okay, I'm ready to take on Evan Fournier if you give me Quentin Grimes. But if they're not willing to do that, who Obi Toppin? Like,
So
he
I
hasn't shown up.
I threw something in on TikTok when I was doing the trade machine earlier this week. It was like Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, and Emmanuel Quickly, and you bring back Zach LaVine.
Oh,
I mean, that's a lot of money coming back, but it's like if you guys really want, like the Knicks haven't been good in so long, they really want to be. Why not capitalize on that? So I think if it's like if you package all these players that they've been rumored to be willing to trade, if you package all them together and bring in someone that can help you win or can is a dominant scorer, then I think you're a buyer. But until then, I just like I stay where you are. Maybe get rid of Cam Reddish because you're not going to play him at all. And I think multiple teams will be interested. But unless you're doing something major to really impact winning this year, stay where you are, I guess, and wait till the offseason. So
I agree.
An interesting team because we all thought they were going to be really bad. Turns out they're not. The Indiana Pacers. You know, they've got Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, who've been rumored to be traded and, you know, be in trade rumors for a long time. I don't think they should do it. Actually, I think I just talked myself out of that really quick. They're not going to win the Eastern Conference, and they're not going to make a deep playoff run. I think if you capitalize on it now with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner's on expiring, so I don't think he's going to come back. So you need to get rid of him before he walks away for nothing.
Yeah.
As fun as this Pacers team's been, I think it's time to sell.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've already threw out some of these names before, but I think some interesting guys because I have them honestly at the hold because I said enjoy being good and maybe even slightly buy in a little bit. And I put guys to maybe grab Kelly Oubre Jr., who we've already kind of talked about. Dylan Brooks is another interesting guy you might be able to finagle away from the Grizzlies. Lonnie Walker, who I've already said, and Nikola Vucevic. Maybe if you get rid of Miles Turner, you bring in Vucevic on that 1-year deal. You try to, you know, make the most of this little push you're making. You still have a really good big man that can space the floor, not defend as well, but he still brings some quality. And you know, you don't really drop off that much. Like, yeah, on the defense side of the ball, like I said, you do, but he still has that floor spacing, still can score the basketball. Playing off of Tyrese Halliburton would make Vucevic, I think, so much better. He's a willing and good passer. So I think there's interesting names that they can try to just piece and still not go all the way in or all the way out, while also, you know, keeping their cap space, keeping this
They've got a lot
city,
of cap space, yeah,
and keeping the city, like, because it seems like, you know, Miles Turner's been talking about how much fun the city has been since they started to win a little bit. So you keep the city like, oh, we're kind of buying in, like, let's go, like they're fired up rest of the season to go to all your games, and then you get them so excited to come back next year whenever you're really going to be set to go. So
if you can talk Miles Turner into re-signing next year, then I'm willing to stay where I'm at. But I just feel like, well, at the same time, it's going to be difficult because you got to trade Miles Turner to a team, and that team's got to be willing to know, okay, but is he going to re-sign with us? Because
then they got to pay him. Yeah.
So the Pacers team is interesting, just because it just depends on all those things. Philadelphia 76ers, Troy. I'm going to say buyers. I think if you can get rid of Tobias Harris's contract, and we mentioned it on a podcast last week, Tobias Harris to Washington, bring back Kyle Kuzma and Will Barton.
Yeah.
I love that idea. Matisse Thybulle, I think they should just be willing to give up on, because it doesn't seem like they're going to play him much out in Philadelphia. But other than that, like Daniel House Jr., maybe too, but I like him to be able to spread the floor. Montrezl Harrell, doesn't seem like things have worked out as well as they had hoped. So I think they have multiple pieces to be willing to give up. And I think you need to try to get another solid piece in with Joel Embiid and James Harden and Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, I think just a couple names, or one name in particular that you could add into maybe a Tobias deal to shake it up a little bit. Shake Milton. A little play on words there. He's younger. He's had some, upsides, and you seem to hit on the D'Anthony Melton trade. So enjoy that. Keep riding Melton, and then get rid of Shake with maybe Tobias and bring in that like Will Barton, Kuzma type thing to get deeper, better, more, just all around defensively, offensively. I think it just makes them worlds better, but whatever. Maybe Furkan. You get rid of Furkan Korsma.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. They've got multiple guys that you could package
They have
together.
such tradable contracts. Yeah. To kind of piece and pair together. So it'll be an interesting one for the old 76ers.
A team that you made a hot prediction on was the Cleveland Cavaliers to be start of the season. So I'm going to toss this right over to you. Cleveland Cavaliers, buyers or sellers?
I think that they should buy. I think that they're in the perfect spot. Like honestly, I didn't have very many Eastern Conference teams that I believe should go all in, like balls to the wall, go make a splash. But I think this is a team where you can go balls to the wall. Because you have Karis LeVert and Kevin Love's contracts on your hands. Like those can net you a really, really good player. Now, obviously, you don't have the picks anymore because of the Donovan Mitchell trade, but I think they have like two first-round picks that they can move. And again, you're getting back Ricky Rubio, who's a veteran guy that can come off the bench, be really, really solid. Maybe you give up Isaac Okoro in a deal with a Kevin Love or a Karis LeVert, and like I said, Jay Crowder, we've already talked about some of these other guys, but they should go all in, get a wing, get a 3-and-D guy, go balls to the wall, get you some defenders that can, kind of hide Garland and Mitchell, maybe an Alex Caruso. I know his name's being thrown around a lot, but go all in. Like this is y'all's
I'm with
run.
you. Like let's.
Donovan
Nobody
Mitchell's
expected.
playing.
I don't think nobody expected them to be this good. Let's strike while the iron's hot. I don't care about how young this core is. Let's just go for it now. Let's go for it. This league is wide open this year. Let's go for it. The Milwaukee Bucks, as we know, they're really solid. I'm going to oddly say buyers, though. I think you can get, if you could get rid of Grayson Allen, I think there's multiple guys you could try to get, like realistically go get that are better than Grayson Allen. I just think like Pat Connaughton too, like he plays well for them, and George Hill's 36. I think they just have multiple pieces that they could upgrade that will help them in the long run. Joe Ingles is back, and I really like as well. So, but I just think like a Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, George Hill, get rid of them and try to get someone better. Maybe a couple second-round picks with one of those guys, and you can upgrade.
I agree.
Yeah, there's not much to really say about.
Yeah. The Bucks are the Bucks.
These last three teams, there's not much to say about. The Brooklyn Nets, they've been rumored to try to be interested in a power forward. They've got a lot of money up top. Joe Harris, I think, is a guy that they're willing to give up on. He's making 18 this year and 19 next year. Package Joe Harris and like a young guy like Cam Thomas, someone like that, maybe go get that guy. But I'm also on the
Kuzma.
If they go get like a Kyle Kuzma, I like, but at the same time, like I wouldn't be willing to like sell so much to mess up what we've got going on right now. It sucks Kevin Durant's hurt, but if they can keep rolling, I really like this Nets team.
But a Kuzma guy helps you whenever a guy like KD steps down, because he can step up and be, again, the number 3 option, on these really good teams, and he wouldn't even have to be that when they're fully healthy. So.
And I don't think Kuzma would be that difficult for them to go after. Joe Harris,
not at all.
Cam Thomas, a couple picks, maybe even one more young guy, but whatever. The last team, we're going to end on a boring note here, is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, hold.
Don't mess up.
Stay. Yeah.
The Boston Celtics are the best team in basketball right now.
Not close, in my opinion. Not
multiple.
close.
They honestly though they could. a tanking team, you could give up Danilo Gallinari's contract and maybe bring in one more piece.
Maybe.
Who knows, man?
Because Sam Hauser in a playoff series, like
Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, like you might want to bring in someone else.
Yeah. But they're more of a team to watch during the buyout market, in my opinion.
Yeah,
maybe a Carmelo Anthony comes in if he's in shape.
We hate to end on such a boring note, but they stopped the top teams in the East seem like they know what they're doing.
They're boring.
Yeah,
they're too good.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think down below. Stay tuned. We're going to have the Western Conference coming out really soon. So let us know what you think down below. Like, comment, subscribe like always. We will see you guys around. We appreciate you. Peace out.